Hi, I'm Bob. Welcome back to the Solutions to Introductory Econometrics. We will solve the problems at the end of Chapter 16. Simultaneous Equations Models. In the textbook, Introductory Econometrics, A Modern Approach, the 7th edition, by Professor Geoffrey Woodridge. Let's look at Problem 1. We write a two-equation system in supply and demand form. In Part 1, if alpha 1 equals 0 or alpha 2 equals 0, explain why a reduced form exists for y1. Remember, a reduced form expresses y1 as a linear function of the exogenous variables and the structural errors. If alpha 1 does not equal 0 and alpha 2 equals 0, find the reduced form for y2. If alpha 1 equals 0, equation 1 becomes y1 equals beta 1 times z1 plus mu1. It is the reduced form equation for y1 because y1 is expressed as a linear function of the exogenous variable z1 and the structural error mu1. If alpha 2 equals 0, equation 2 can be written as y1 equals alpha 2 times z2 plus mu2. It is the reduced form for y1. If alpha 1 does not equal 0 and alpha 2 equals 0, equation 2 becomes y1 equals beta 2 times z2 plus mu2. Substitute this for y1 in equation 1 and solve for y2. We can write the reduced form equation for y2. In Part 2, if alpha 1 does not equal 0, alpha 2 does not equal 0, and alpha 1 does not equal alpha 2, find the reduced form for y1. Does y2 have a reduced form in this case? We rewrite equation 1, plug it into equation 2, and solve for y1. The reduced form equation for y1 is as follows. We can also derive the reduced form equation for y2. In Part 3, is the condition alpha 1 not equal to alpha 2 likely to be met in supply and demand examples? Explain. The condition is likely to be satisfied in supply and demand examples. Suppose y1 is quantity and y2 is price. Both are in logarithmic forms. Alpha 1 is the price elasticity of supply and alpha 2 is the price elasticity of demand. Alpha 1 is probably positive and alpha 2 is probably negative. Let's solve problem 2. Let corn denote per capita consumption of corn in bushels at the county level. Let price be the price per bushel of corn. Let income denote per capita county income. And let rainfall be inches of rainfall during the last corn growing season. The following simultaneous equations model imposes the equilibrium condition that supply equals demand. Which is the supply equation and which is demand equation? Explain. The first is the demand equation because consumers' income is an important determinant of their demand for goods. The second is the supply equation because the weather affects corn harvest and its supply. Let's answer problem 3. In problem 3 of chapter 3, we estimated an equation to test for a trade-off between minutes per week spent sleeping and minutes per week spent working for a random sample of individuals. We also included education and age in the equation because each individual jointly chooses sleep and work. Is the estimated trade-off between sleeping and working subject to a simultaneity bias criticism? Explain. No, the time spent sleeping and working is determined by the same individual. We cannot write down two equations for sleep and work that are distinguishable in estimation. By contrast, in a simultaneous equations model, each equation can stand on its own and has a ceteris paribus interpretation. For example, in the demand and supply system, the demand equation is based on demand theory and chosen by consumers. The supply equation is based on the supply side and determined by producers. Let's do problem 4. Suppose that annual earnings and alcohol consumption is determined by the simultaneous equations model, where price is a local price index for alcohol, which includes state and local taxes. Assume that education and price are exogenous. If beta 1, beta 2, gamma 1, gamma 2, and gamma 3 are all different from 0, which equation is identified? How would you estimate the equation? The first equation is identified. The number of endogenous explanatory variables is 1, and the number of excluded exogenous variables is also 1. The equation is just identified. The second equation is unidentified because the number of endogenous explanatory variables is 1, but no exogenous variable is excluded from the equation. For the first equation, we use log price as an instrumental variable for alcohol and adopt the two-stage least squares estimation. Thank you for watching this video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. See you next time.